Hello everyone, welcome to the third video lecture of Materials Science and Metallurgy video lecture series. In the previous videos, we discussed about what is meant by ionic bond and covalent bond. In this video lecture, we are going to discuss about two important properties. Those are thermal conductivity and electrical conductivity. And at the end of the video lecture, we are going to understand what is meant by metallic bond. Let us start the class. Now I am going to explain what is meant by thermal conductivity. In our school days only we knew these terms: conduction, convection and radiation. So heat transfers from one place to another place by following these three ways or any of the three ways. Let us imagine that you have taken some water, this water here, in a vessel, and you are going to heat this water. So whenever you give a flame to this water, then what happens? Water gets heated. In this process of heating, we will observe these three varieties. One is conduction, and another one is convection, and other one is radiation. These are the three ways in which a heat will transfer from one body to another body. So whenever you give direct heat to this metal vessel, what happens here? If you see, this metal vessel is a solid. So whenever you give direct heat to solid substances, it will directly take that heat energy and will transfer that heat energy throughout this vessel. So suppose, let us imagine that it is having a handle. Let me imagine that this is also a metal. So what happens here? Whenever you give heat to this vessel, this handle will also be heated. That means, how did it heat? Because of direct contact of this metal to this heat. What happens if you directly heat any solid? See here, let us take a solid material like this. Especially I want to say about metals. In this solid material, there are different atoms or ions which are tightly packed through different type of bondings like ionic bond, covalent bond or metallic bond. So all these will be packed together like this. In our previous video lecture, we already discussed that though they are seemed to be fixed in certain fixed positions, these are all under little bit vibration. If you go in microscopic level, you can observe these atoms are slightly vibrating. Suppose this is the atom, then it has some vibration. That means this atom always move to this side and this side continuously. Like this, there will be a zigzag motion of this atom. Whenever you supply heat like this in this example, so what happens here is, because of that heat, the extent of vibration will increase. So the vibrational frequency will increase. As a result, molecules fastly vibrate. Those vibrations will give some type of electromagnetic radiation which is observed as heat. What I mean to say here is, whenever a solid material gets heat, so then atoms present in that material will vibrate with more frequency. As a result, the temperature of that substance will be raised. Suppose if you come to this position, that means suppose if you consider this liquid, what happens here in this liquid, whenever you give heat to this liquid, it will convert like this. Let us imagine that this is the vessel which you have taken. So, in this vessel you are heating this water. Let us imagine that this is water level. Let us consider that these are the water molecules present in upper surface, and these are the water molecules present in the lower surface or lower level. So, whenever you give heat, automatically molecules present in the bottom level gets heated. I am showing it with red color, that it means it is hot now. So, immediately what happens? They gained some energy. So, as a result, their kinetic energy will be increased. Molecules present in liquids are always moving here and there. That means they are in some random motion. So, their kinetic energy will be increased. As a result, their velocity will be increased. As a result, these molecules will go upwards. Like this, these will go upward. At the same time, while they are going upward, their density will also be decreased. I think you know what is meant by density. Density is equal to mass by volume. So, their density will be decreased. That means these will scatter in all directions. Now, these molecules are all grouped to some little area like this. In this small area, let us consider that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 molecules are there. So, whenever their kinetic energy is increased, automatically what happens? They will go in this direction or in this direction, like this, they will scatter in all those directions. So, some molecules, those, that means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like that. Here only 5 molecules are there, only 5 molecules are there in the total area. That means whenever you give heat to this liquid, automatically what happens? The density will also be decreased, and at the same time they will move upwards. So, finally, these type of water molecules are more populated here. Okay. So, what happens here? Here you got a gap. Whenever you get a gap here, molecules present in the upper surface which are in cold condition will come down. That means these will come down. These molecules will come down like this. During this transfer, while they are going upwards and others are coming downwards, during this transfer, due to some collisions, due to some contact, automatically water gets heated. So, here the movement of these molecules is responsible for the transfer of heat from one molecule to another molecule if you consider liquids. Again, if you come to the diagram, here suppose let us imagine that this is your hand. You put nearer to this flame, what you will experience? You will experience that you are feeling something hot. How did you get this heat? You did not touch this flame, and this flame also did not touch you. Then also you will get some heat. That means some heat is transferred in the form of radiation to your hand. That is called as thermal radiation. It is also an electromagnetic wave. So, though there is no physical contact between the heat source and the body, automatically heat can transfer from one place to another place. Let us imagine that this is sun. This is our earth. which is revolving around the sun. Though this earth did not touch this sun directly, you are experiencing heat from this sun. Why? Because heat can transfer in space in the form of radiation. So, thermal transfer. So, finally, what I want to say here is thermal conductivity. This is one of the most important property while we are going to learn about materials. This thermal conductivity in materials will happen through conduction and convection and finally radiation. This conduction mainly happens in solid materials. In solid materials, conduction happens due to vibration of atoms or ions or particles. Simply you can say particles present in that solid. So, since we are discussing about solid materials, I wish to emphasize on this point only. So, in solids, thermal conductivity will happen due to vibration of atoms or ions or particles. Is that clear? So, let us come to electrical conductivity. What is meant by electrical conductivity? Electrical conductivity. We knew a simple definition. Movement of electrons. This is the simplest definition. Of course, there are different definitions about this electrical conductivity. I have chosen this one, movement of electrons. Suppose if free electrons are present in any solid material, whenever you supply electricity to them, automatically those electrons will move, and we can call that material as a conductor. And in some cases, ions are also responsible for the passage of electricity. It is an indirect way of passage of electricity. Let me give you some examples about this electrical conductivity and thermal conductivity. Then we will understand what happens if a material contains ionic bond and covalent bond and metallic bond. Did you identify what it is? Yes, it is rock salt. The scientific name is sodium chloride. Now I wish to ask you a simple question, that did NaCl conduct electricity? My answer is no. In solid state, NaCl does not conduct electricity. Suppose if you give electrons to this solid NaCl crystal, this solid NaCl crystal does not allow the passage of those free electrons. Why? Because suppose if you go to the structure of this NaCl, so Na plus Cl minus, Na plus Cl minus, Cl minus, Na plus, Cl minus and Na plus, again Na plus, Cl minus and Na plus and Cl minus. So in this way the crystal is tightly packed. Here if you come to this Na plus, its electronic configuration is 1s2, 2s2, 2p6. So these electrons are tightly packed in this Na plus because it is stable electronic configuration. So this Na plus is not ready to make any changes in this electronic configuration by taking the supplied electrons. And at the same time, if you come to this Cl minus, what happens here? In this Cl minus also, you will find 1s2, 2s2, 2p6 and 3s2, 3p6 stable electronic configuration. So this Cl minus also doesn't allow any changes in its electronic configuration by taking the supplied electrons. That's why there is no movement of free electrons in this crystal lattice. So as a result, suppose if any electron comes here, how will it pass? Because if it wants to pass from one place to another place, electrical conductivity needs the contact of that surface. That means electricity does not flow in air directly from one place to another place just in case of thermal radiation. Hence, electrons need a material, a possibility. Suppose if electrons wants to pass through this material must be connected throughout this length and there must be a possibility for these electrons to pass from this material. Here whenever electron comes to this crystal lattice does not allow this electron to make any changes in this crystal. As a result, you won't get electricity outside. Is that clear? So, if you take sodium chloride in a solid state, it won't allow the passage of electricity. So, NaCl is a bad conductor of electricity. Is that clear? So, now you can ask me a simple question. Sir, suppose if I take this NaCl into this vessel, that means I have taken some water, I poured some water into this vessel, then I added some NaCl to this water. Okay, after I put two metal rods into this water and I connected them to a battery. Will electricity pass through this NaCl solution now? Yes. Now this NaCl solution will allow the passage of electricity. Why? Because this water now contains Na plus ion which is freely moving from this side to this side and Cl minus ion which is also moving in all sides. So, there is movement of ions. Since there is movement of ions, automatically the passage of electricity is possible. So, by the definition we have taken two simple definitions. By the definition there must be free electrons or movement of ions. So, here the possibility for the movement of ions. So, here the ions Na plus and Cl minus are free to move. So, automatically they will conduct electricity. Finally, NaCl in its solid state does not conduct electricity. And at the same time, NaCl whenever it is in its molten state or whenever it is dissolved in water, it is able to conduct electricity. There is another case for this NaCl. Suppose if I took NaCl in a vessel, if I have taken this solid NaCl, let us imagine that this is solid NaCl. So, and I heated this total material from all sides. Like this, I have heated up to 700 degrees centigrade. What happens now? This solid NaCl material will become a liquid NaCl material. Now, this is the liquid NaCl material. That means it came to its fused state or in its molten state. In this molten state also, there are Na plus and Cl minus ions. So, they are free to move in this molten state also. So, then they also conduct electricity. So, finally, NaCl in its solid state and when it is in dry condition, it is not a good conductor whenever NaCl comes to a molten state or into a liquid state by dissolving in water, and whenever you get the movement of Na plus and Cl minus ions, automatically they will conduct electricity. Finally, you can state that ionic compounds are bad conductors of electricity. So, if you take NaCl, it is a bad conductor. MgO, magnesium oxide, it is also a bad conductor. In these materials, you will find metals in their ionic state. That's why we have to know about this property. What happens if you come to a covalent bonded material? Let us take a simple example of a diamond. Yes, what is this material? This is diamond. In this diamond and this graphite, this is graphite. These two substances contain carbon atoms only. We know that carbon is in sp3 hybridization in diamond, whereas it is in sp2 hybridization in graphite. Suppose if you supply electricity to this material, what happens here? All these bonds, this bond, this bond, this bond, all these bonds are sigma bonds. That means diamond contains sigma bonds only. You know that sigma bond is a strong bond. That means electrons present in this sigma bond are tightly packed between two atoms. As a result, these electrons are not willing to accept any changes due to supplied electrons. So, as a result, you can say that covalent bonded materials, if they have only sigma electrons, then they are bad conductors of electricity. Whereas if you come to this graphite, you know that it is in sp2 hybridization. Whenever you supply electricity to this graphite material, what happens here? You knew that sp2 hybridization means it contains pi bonds. So, pi bonds are nothing but the bonds which contain free electrons. So, since this graphite material totally contains free electrons, automatically it will conduct electricity. So, finally, what I wish to say here is, if you come to covalent bonded materials, if it contains only sigma bonds, and there is no pi bond, if that material does not contain any pi bond, then they are bad conductors of electricity. Suppose if the material contains pi bonds, then it will be a conductor of electricity. Okay, let us take the example again. Here this diamond is a bad conductor of electricity, whereas graphite is a good conductor of electricity. Whenever you come to this place, here it is a small picture which I wish to show you. This is about diamonds. These are all diamonds, very costly diamonds. Okay, suppose if you come to a material, did you identify what is this material? What is it? Yes, this is silicon. This is the silicon metal. You knew that in silicon metal also all bonds are sigma bonds. Come here, have a close look. All silicon atoms are tightly packed just like in diamond. So it contains only sigma bonds, there are no pi bonds. So if you give electricity, it won't conduct electricity outside. Of course, if the crystal contains any defects, automatically it will conduct a little bit current. So that's why we will call it as semiconductor. Is that clear? So generally we are not able to find pure silicon, which is 100% pure silicon. Generally silicon contains some impurities. So if you find any electricity in silicon, it is due to the impurities present in the silicon or due to some defects like Frankel defect, Schottky defect, and twinning defects. There are different type of crystal defects also, which we are going to discuss in the coming video lectures. So if it contains such type of defects, it will conduct electricity little bit. Is that clear? What have we discussed so far is about only electrical conductivity. We did not discuss anything about thermal conductivity. Now let us discuss about thermal conductivity in these materials. Let us now concentrate on thermal conductivity. So you knew that in solids, generally thermal conductivity is due to vibration of particles. So if the frequency of these vibrations increase, automatically you will experience more heat. So if you take any crystal or any solid material, if atoms or ions present in that material are free to give these type of vibrations, then only they will conduct heat. Okay, suppose if you come to this sodium chloride, NaCl, and you supplied heat to this sodium chloride. What happens here? If you take any ionic compound, in that ionic compound, it contains oppositely charged ions which are tightly packed. It is having a face centered cubic structure. So this Na plus ion is attracted by this Cl minus ion, this Cl minus ion is attracted by this Na plus ion. So these two came to a mean position. We discussed already in the previous video lecture about this one. So and they are tightly packed. So whenever you supply heat to this sodium chloride crystal, these Na plus and Cl minus ions are not much free to give vibrations. That means they are not ready to give more vibrations. Suppose if they give more vibrations, what happens? Suppose if this Na plus and Cl minus ion, this Na plus wants to give a vibration in this direction, then what happens here? This chloride ion will attract this Na plus ion and it will restrict this Na plus ion to move away from its side. So this type of movement of this Na plus is restricted by Cl minus ion. Suppose if Cl minus ion wants to give an attraction in this direction, what happens here? If it wants to give any vibration in this direction, this Na plus ion will attract it into this direction, and this Na plus ion will not allow this Cl minus ion to give a vibration in this direction. Suppose if Na plus ion wants to give a vibration to inside of this Cl minus, that means suppose if Na plus ion wants to give a vibration in this direction, what happens? The positive nucleus of this Na plus and this positive nucleus present in this chloride ion will repel each other. So this chloride ion will not allow the movement of Na plus ion more nearer to it because it contains plus 17 protons in its nucleus. We already discussed this point also in the previous video lecture. So automatically the possibility for more vibrations gets restricted. You can ask me a doubt. Suppose if it wants to give direction vibration in this direction, what happens, sir? In this direction also there is Cl minus ion like this. Suppose Na plus ion wants to give a vibration in this direction. Here is also Cl minus ion. That means here also Cl minus ion is present. So in all directions for this Na plus ion there are Cl minus ions. For Cl minus ion there are Na plus ions around it. So like this there will be a tight pack in this crystal. As a result, this NaCl does not conduct heat freely. So it is a bad conductor of heat. Not only simply this NaCl, any ionic compound is generally a bad conductor. Is that clear? Suppose if you come to this covalent bonded molecule, suppose if you come to this diamond, if you give a close look in its structure, it is having tetrahedral structure. There are more number of gaps. This is the atom, carbon atom. Here is more gap, space for it, and for this also there is a space. So for this also there is some space. So that means if you give heat to this covalent bonded material, it will conduct heat. So in covalent bonded materials, there is a space for the vibration. So there are free vibration. Here in covalent bonded molecules, there are no attractive forces, just like in ionic compounds. So each atom is very free to move in all directions. So automatically covalent bonded solid materials are best conductors of heat. Suppose if you take this diamond, it is one of the best thermal conductor. Whereas if you come to this graphite, it is also a best thermal conductor. Because of this reason only, our ancestors are used to put diamonds in the crowns of idols. Suppose if you take any god's image like this, so our ancestors generally used to put crowns. In those crowns, they used to put diamonds. So what happened? What happens if you put diamonds in any material? These will take the total heat in the room. So as a result, the total room will be at a normal temperature, and at the same time diamonds are going to give more number of reflections if any small light fall on it. So automatically the total room will be glittered with the reflections given by this diamond. What I mean to say here is, suppose if you enter any temple, generally you will see very small rooms. Let me take this small diagram, like this is the small room in any temple. They will put a statue in the middle like this. Let this be the statue of any god, and they will put some diamonds in the crown and at some places else. So and they will put small lamps in the room, only very small lamp and very small lamp in the room. So due to this small light, it will give small light radiations. All these light radiations will go and fall on these diamonds, and it will give more number of reflections in all sides. So finally the total room will get more light. Since this is a small room, if many people are present near to this one or inside the room, automatically heat develops. the developed heat will be taken by these diamonds, and at the same time by the metal, let it be a gold metal. In the crown generally there will be gold metal or silver metal. So metals are best conductors of heat. So these will take heat, and at the same time these diamonds are very responsible for taking such type of heat. As a result, any person present in the room feels free, and he will make some spiritual activities in this room very freely without any suffocation. So finally, if you come to our lesson, since diamond contains covalent bonds and these are free to give vibrations, as a result we can say that covalent bonded materials are best conductors of heat. They are good thermal conductors. Of course, there are some materials which will give some exceptions. It depends upon the condition of that material and the position of atoms or molecules present in that material. We'll come to that matter also in the coming video lectures. So finally, we discussed two things. One is electrical conductivity and other one is thermal conductivity, and how these conductions will happen in metals. Now I am going to explain what is meant by a metallic bond. We are all very familiar with these type of cables, which are electrical cables. Electrical cables. So if you take any electrical cable, they will conduct electricity. You know that metals contain more number of free electrons, and they are always ready to conduct electricity. Suppose if you take a copper wire like this, suppose if you give electricity to this wire here, then automatically it will turn, all electrons will turn round this one, and finally they will come out in this way. So whenever you supply electrons, these electrons are very free to move in this copper material, and you will find the conduction of electricity in copper metal. Suppose if you want to understand the bonding in metals, let me ask you a simple question. Will metals contain ionic bond? Will metals contain ionic bond? No. We can immediately say that the answer is no. Why? Because ionic compounds in their solid states are bad conductors of electricity. But here this copper is conducting electricity. That means this copper did not contain any ionic bond. And suppose if you come to this copper, will it contain covalent bonds? Just like in silicon. Again the answer is no, because in silicon it contains sigma bonds and it also doesn't conduct electricity, but this copper here is conducting electricity. You can say that, sir, it may contain sp2 hybridization just like in graphite, it may contain sp hybridization. So there is a possibility for the presence of free electrons in copper, but XRD studies showed that this type of sp2 or this type of sp is not present in copper metal. So in copper metal the bonding is different from ionic bond and covalent bond. That type of bond is called metallic bond. Not only in copper, many metals contain metallic bonds. Suppose if you take gold, silver and magnesium metal and sodium metal, aluminum metal, there are many number of metals. All these metals contain a different type of bond which is called a metallic bond. I wish to ask you a simple question. As soon as you give electricity to this wire, immediately you will experiencing the flow of electrons in the terminal. How is it possible? That means this metal contains more free electrons. If it really contains more free electrons, without supplying this electrical energy, why they are not coming out? My question is, suppose if this copper metal contains more number of free electrons, then why those electrons are not coming out of this metal without supplying the electricity? You can say one thing, sir, metals are always ready to give away electrons. Suppose if you take a copper, the electronic configuration of copper is argon 4s1 3d10. You knew that whenever it loses this one electron from this 4s orbital, it will get a 3d10 electronic configuration, fully filled orbital configuration, which is a stable configuration. So, copper always wants to lose one electron outside. If it is so, then why don't you experience flow of electrons from the copper wire without supplying electricity? Did you understand what I mean to say here is, suppose if this copper contains more free electrons, why don't you experience the flow of electrons outside copper wire without supplying electrical energy? Why do you need this electrical energy for the flow of electrons from copper wire to outside? So, metallic bond will give you the total explanation. Then let us now learn what is meant by a metallic bond and how it is formed. However, I exceeded the time, I think. So, in the coming video lecture, we are going to know about what is meant by this metallic bond. Is that clear? Till then, please note down all these things while you see the video. Thanks for watching till the end. Thank you.